The data generally share some kind of geospatial relationship to each other, and it's often thematic. And the themes can range from the purely geographic features of the topography to themes like soil conditions and climate and ethnography and language and voting patterns and trade and commerce. And as early as the 2nd century, the Alexandrian geographer Claudius Ptolemy proposed that maps could be used for all these purposes. Early map makers often substituted artistry and imagination when they lacked hard data, and the map makers of the Renaissance and the early modern period raised the artistry of cartography to the level where these things are very attractive and collectible, but we esteem them for their aesthetic beauty, not so much for their accuracy. So the intersection of art and cartography is not really entirely new phenomenon, but today we're extremely excited to be launching this exhibit, which features still other new departures in the expressive use of artistic cartography, or what I've often been tempted to call psychocartography. As a reward for coming today, I hope all of you have equipped yourselves with a complimentary copy of this magnificent catalog, which was done because of the nature of the two works. Artists represented as a tête-bêche flipbook, and we cleverly reversed the title and subtitle, so each author has a unique title. And in catalogers lingo, this will be a bound with. So each author gets a full credit, is not a co-author at all, but full author of his own half of the binding. It's complimentary today, one to a customer ideally. Tomorrow these go on sale for $25. Hint, hint. And now I'd like to introduce our map librarian, David Jones, who will say a few words before introducing one of our two artist cartographers who's present today. And it's David who's really responsible for having brought them together and acted as curator and general organizer of this project. So, David?
Thank you. As Merrill mentioned, the William C. Wonders Map Collection.
We were too cheap to get a PA system.
Anyway, Merrill mentioned that the William C. Wonders Map Collection, that collection is on the 4th floor of this building, for those who aren't familiar with it. And if you haven't visited it before, I suggest you come and see it sometimes. We are the 2nd largest map collection in Canada, the largest academic map collection in Canada, and we rank in the top 3 or 4 in the rankings of the Association of Research Libraries for North American libraries. The past 2 decades have seen an explosion in the technology of spatial data and mapping. From GIS and web maps to GPS navigation to street views from Google and spatial data, and simple illustrative utilitarian maps confront us everywhere. Less visible, but equally important, new movements and interest in the art and philosophy of cartography have been growing beneath the perception of many of us who see ourselves as map users. This exhibit and the catalog present examples of 2 streams of this new cartography. Art, as Merrill mentioned, has always played a significant role in cartography. Indeed, it's part of the very word, artography. And in the 15th and 16th century, the line between the artist and the map maker slash cartographer was often diffuse and obscure. The 2 disciplines subsequently diverged as society became more specialized. However, over the last half century, or more so in the last quarter century, we've seen a renewed integration of art and cartography, a trend that's been reviewed and explored in Catherine Harmon's recent book, The Map as Art, Contemporary Artists Explore Cartography, in which she presents 350 recent works by well over 100 artists from all around the world. This summer, the Herman Dunlop Smith Center for the History of Cartography at the prestigious Newberry Library in Chicago, is hosting a 5-week NEH, National Endowment for the Humanities, Summer Institute on mapping and art in the Americas. Matthew Rangel is part of this movement. He's one of our artists. His journey, a transect due east, is the visual embodiment of a long hike from his hometown along the parallel, approximately 36 degrees, 30 minutes north, that runs through Dinuba, California, in the San Joaquin Valley. And he followed it eastward through the foothills into the Sequoia National Park, over the Great Divide, and to a summit of a distinctively recognizable peak known as Black Kaweah. His prints meld topography and visual images uniquely express his perception of the journey. And as you look at them, you will see that he has integrated the lithography and cartography maps. Some of the base maps that he used are from our collection here. They even have the William C. Wonders map stamp on them. I got to blow our horn here. Matthew studied at College of the Sequoias, California State Long Beach, and received his MFA in drawing and painting here at U of A in 2008. He now instructs at College of the Sequoias and is very active participant in both the arts and the natural history fields in that area. Another growing field is philosophical thought and analysis of maps, how they are created, perceived, viewed, and used by their creators and their viewers. Thus, the maps themselves, as an expression of the personal experience, philosophical thoughts of their creators, have become a focus of study. Mapping theory, exploring epistemological and ontological thought, hermeneutics, performative and embodied mapping are just some of the subjects now of academic study. The current state of this analysis is captured in the essays in a recently published book, Rethinking Maps, New Frontiers in Cartographic Theory, which was edited by Martin Dodge, Rob Kitchen, and Chris Perkins. Michael Coulis, our other artist, whose odyssey is entitled Hermeneut on a Bike, 11 Geological Lessons in 11 Landscapes, is an adult educator whose principal focus is on experiential learning. Educated at Concordia University, Montreal, George Brown College, Ryerson University, and Oise University of Toronto, his studies span political philosophy, graphic design, book publishing, adult education, and counseling psychology, plus probably other things too. He now continues his research here at the University of Alberta's Department of Secondary Education, where he's also operations manager for the arts-based research studio. He undertook a cross-Canada bicycle journey following the tragic death of his bride of just 22 months. His voyage of healing and self-discovery is expressed through an essay, which is in our, and now your, catalog, and a series of maps that reflect geographically his personalized environment. His work uses maps and text to explore, express, and illustrate this very personal odyssey of self-exploration and discovery through the physical journey across Canada. First cycling from Ontario to Newfoundland, then from British Columbia back to Ontario. This solo trip is more than a physical traverse of the country. It's a metaphor for his personal spiritual journey of self-discovery. Manifestation of the grieving process. The maps represent, as I say, more than physical geography. They illustrate a psychogeographical or psychological passage from solitude to love. As I say, the catalog, hopefully you will or have or will pick up your copy. They are available at the desk, and they contain essays both by Matthew and Michael. A couple of other little notes I'd like to make. I'd like to give thanks to everyone who helped put this together. Particularly, we had support from Carl Amrine and Ernie Ingalls, both of whom wish they were here, but are flying and are beyond the Neatline. The Neatline, by the way, is the border of the map. That's the pun of the title here. But they are both on their own journeys. Dr. Amrine in China and Ernie in Washington, D.C. But also a lot of support from Merrill Distad, Linda Distad, who did the supreme work of editing the text of the catalog, Alara Minja, our catalog designer, McCallum Press, Galatea Galleries, who did the matting of the images, and special also help in putting up the exhibit, Carol Irwin, Bonnie Gallinger, and Grace Romero. And I'd like to now introduce one of our artists, Michael Coulis, to say a few words.